Chapter 6. Mountains high, valleys low. Early morning sunlight danced upon the waves that gently lapped against their sailing skiff, a stark contrast from the perilous waters they had been in just moments before. Herman, Leffin and Gifford suddenly realized they had arrived near the shimmering shore of Memoria. Water glistened, reflecting the myriad of colors from the sunrise. Despite the breathtaking view, Herman looked ill, his storm grey eyes clouded with unease. He swayed unsteadily on his feet, his pale face reflecting the queasiness in his stomach.
We made it. I can't believe we are still in one piece.
Traveling through the whirlpool portal was fun.
Leffin exclaimed, her voice bubbling with excitement.
We should do it again.
She twirled her oak flute playfully.
Fun?
Gifford scoffed, trying to cross his arms over his chest, but his stone-encased arm made the motion awkward.
I suppose, if you enjoy feeling like you've been turned inside out.
He levelled a challenging gaze at Leffin, eager to debate the merits of their harrowing journey.
Gifford, you're missing the magic of the moment.
Leffin admonished, playfully poking his round belly with her oak flute. As they approached the shore, they spotted Bilbert's ship anchored nearby, the sail bearing the image of a red fish hung limply in the calm breeze. There was no sign of Bilbert.
Where is Bilbeard?
Herman wondered aloud.
Probably on shore somewhere, or maybe he fell out on the way here.
Gifford shrugged with some effort, due to his stone arm.
Wait, there are several things swimming toward his ship.
Herman rummaged through his leather satchel, retrieving his father's journal. Flipping through the pages, he found an entry accompanied by a beautifully detailed drawing of the creatures before them. They were half human and half fish, and they were swarming over Bilbert's vessel as if it were a treasure chest ripe for plundering. Their blue faces glistened like wet sapphires under the rising sun. Their slender forms fluid and agile. They wielded cutlasses and harpoons. The creatures awkwardly climbed onto Bilbert's ship, ransacking the vessel, tossing items overboard with abandon. The sight was as mesmerizing as it was alarming. Glitterfleck noticed her companion's open-mouthed expression at the watery creatures.
Oh, those are just the merfolk.
She announced like a calm tour guide.
Are they friendly?
Herman stammered.
Not really.
The fairy said, her glowing form dimming a shade.
They're known to be fearless, crude, and arrogant.
At that moment, the merfolk had spotted them. Their eyes gleamed with curiosity and greed as they assessed the newcomers. With the swiftness of a school of fish, they surrounded the companion ship that Herman and his friends were on.
Ahoy there!
Called one of the merfolk, spotting the group on board the companion.
Who be ye landwalkers? And what be your business in Memoria?
He demanded. His voice was as rough as sandpaper, yet carried a fluid swagger.
Do ye have anything o' value on your pathetic boat?
Indeed, they had nothing of value, except for the contents of Herman's satchel, his father's book, the marionette puppet blog, and the finder's map. Herman exchanged a nervous glance with Leffin and Glitterfleck, silently agreeing to keep the contents of his satchel a secret from the merfolk. Gifford, unable to resist the temptation to engage in a verbal duel, blurted out,
Actually, you watery weirdos, we have a magical treasure map that...
Leffin shushed Gifford, elbowing him in the ribs. It was too late. The merfolk exchanged intrigued glances. Their gregarious leader swam closer, his fearless gaze never leaving Gifford's face.
A magical treasure map, ye say? Must be one o' them finder maps. We'll take it.
The merfolk's eyes lit up with interest. They grinned wickedly, revealing sharp teeth. The merfolk swam closer, their blue faces contorted into menacing sneers.
If that don't spill the ink.
Herman said, staring in disbelief at his brother's action.
Why do you have to tell them about the map?
Prepare yourselves.
Leffin called out, her face a mask of determination. As the merfolk swarmed the companion, she brandished her oak flute like a seasoned warrior, lunging and jabbing at the creatures attempting to climb aboard, sending them plummeting into the sea.
Take this!
Gifford roared, his stone arm swinging in wide arcs to fend off the attackers. The solid impact of his blow sent merfolk flying into the frothy sea with satisfying splashes. Herman, though filled with trepidation, gripped an oar and swung it awkwardly. It connected with the merfolk's head, and the creature let out a yelp before disappearing beneath the wave.
Sorry!
Herman blurted involuntarily.
Less apologizing, more hitting.
Gifford yelled, narrowly avoiding a swipe from a merfolk's sharp cutlass. Soon, the merfolk realized that these were not easy targets and ceased their attack. With Glitterfleck's guidance, the trio steered the companion expertly through the chaos and towards the shore, leaving the furious merfolk behind. As they approached land, the group caught sight of an endless line of mountains stretching across the horizon like a spiny dragon's back. Herman was awestruck by the sheer magnitude of their journey ahead.
Looks like we've got quite the climb.
Lefin remarked, her voice full of explorative excitement.
I suppose we have no other choice.
Herman mumbled, his gaze wavering between the merfolk behind them and the imposing peaks before them. Standing on the shore, Herman stared at the seemingly insurmountable range of mountains. He glanced down at the finder's map, its intricate lines revealing that their journey would lead them up and over the towering peaks.
May God protect us and give strength.
He prayed aloud.
Look,
Gifford said skeptically,
I know you believe in all that God stuff, but do you really think he can do anything for us here?
Herman's gaze was steady.
God is good and powerful, beyond our understanding. He can easily reign over any realm or domain.
Is that so?
Gifford challenged, raising an eyebrow.
Then why does he allow terrible things to happen, like the cursed storm that turned the people on Windstorm Island to stone?
He looked at his own stone arm.
Or our father always being away, leaving us to fend for ourselves? Why do bad things happen to good people?
Nobody is truly good, Giff.
Herman responded, his voice firm despite the lump forming in his throat.
Nobody is worthy of the promises of heaven. The real question is, why do good things happen to anyone at all? Evil doesn't come from God. It comes from our own fallen nature. Someday, all evil will be vanquished.
God is just a fairy tale, something for kids afraid of the dark.
Gifford scoffed.
Perhaps those who don't believe are afraid of the light.
Herman countered, his gaze fixed on the mountains ahead. Glitterflake fluttered between the debating brothers, her iridescent wings casting a prismatic glow.
You should save your energy for the climb. According to the finder's map, we need to reach the other side of these mountains.
She informed them, her tiny form casting an ethereal glow on the parchment.
I'll guide you as best I can. There's much to discover on this quest. Friends, further up and further in.
With Glitterflake leading the way, the group began their arduous ascent. The path grew steeper and rockier with each step, forcing them to cling to jagged outcroppings as they traversed the treacherous terrain. They climbed higher, and the air became thinner and colder, chilling them to the bone. Patches of snow dotted the landscape, crunching underfoot like frozen whispers.
My fingers and the toes are kind of tingly. I'm aware of all of my appendages.
Lefin said.
This is the kind of cold that makes you feel alive.
She inhaled deeply.
It's so cold. When you breathe through your nose, your nostrils freeze together.
She purposely practiced doing it, which made her face look funny. Herman still thought that she was beautiful with the mountainous backdrop and tiny snowflakes dancing around her.
You're so weird,
Gifford said. His breath came in labored gasps and misty plumes dissipating in the frigid air.
Here, take my scarf.
Herman offered, handing Lefin his blue scarf he had always worn. By late afternoon, a rhythmic crescendo of metal upon rock reached their ears as they neared the apex of the mountain. The relentless rhythm unnerved them, but also intrigued them onward.
Look!
Lefin exclaimed, pointing toward a group of stout dwarfs working diligently among the rocks. Their hammers rang out in a symphony of industry, each strike sending chips of stone flying. Herman gazed in wonder at the sight before him. Dwarfs, clad in leather caps and work aprons, were diligently chipping away at the side of the mountain, extracting shimmering gems from its stony embrace.
Weary travelers, welcome. We would get many visitors up here. My name is Red Forge.
A bulbous-nosed dwarf greeted them with a gravelly yet jovial voice. He was short and stout, like his fellow workers, but his bright red braided hair set him apart.
I am the leader of the Sisyphean clan.
Gifford stifled a laugh.
Sissy clan.
He whispered to his brother.
Shh, don't cause any more trouble.
Herman rebuked. Suddenly, Redforge noticed the floating fairy.
Glitterfleck, what brings you and your trio to our humble mountain?
He asked with recognition, his copper face glistening with the sweat of toil.
We seek the sword which you have crafted, the blade of innocence.
Glitterfleck said, getting right to the point.
A terrible evil has befallen the land of my companions.
She gestured to Herman, Gifford, and Lefwen.
We have need of the sword to stop any further wrong from happening.
Ah, I see. It is revenge that you truly seek.
Redforge gathered.
No, sir, that's not it.
Herman replied.
At least, I don't think that is our quest.
The dwarf's countenance fell.
It doesn't matter. That sword was stolen by the goblins of the Steam Mine Caverns.
Redforge dwelled on his time and passion spent on crafting such a weapon, now lost.
Alas,
He regretted.
I should never have used those blue gems. They were too alluring for their own good.
The dwarf shook his head ruefully before returning to the task at hand. Gifford raised an eyebrow.
Why don't you take it back? If I were you, I'd march down there and pound those goblins.
He said, swinging his stone arm down like a hammer. One of the other dwarfs gasped at Gifford's stone arm.
We've heard of people turned to stone, but never partially like this.
Indeed.
Another dwarf chimed in.
The Warlock King has no need to curse us, for we do our work without question.
I see your predicament, lad.
Redforge said, his eyes widening at the sight of Gifford's stony limb.
My clan has been fortunate enough to be spared from such a fate, because we're dutiful hard workers and do what we are told. I suppose you also come seeking the fabled living water as a cure. We have.
Gifford said, holding his stone arm up as if it were a badge of honor.
Well, the fabled living water.
The dwarf leader continued.
I am afraid it's just that, a fable. Nobody's ever found it. Goblins claim they have it hidden in their caverns, but I wouldn't trust the word of a goblin. I'm sure it is just a ploy to lure people to their doom.
Redforge's jovial eyes narrowed and turned cold.
We hate the goblins.
Is there nothing that can be done?
Lefwen implored.
It is not only for the sake of our friend Gifford, but our entire village.
There might be a way. You may not like it.
Redforge admitted.
My clan is skilled at their craft. We could try to chisel out your arm.
Gifford held out his stone arm.
I'm not afraid.
He said, though the grey fear in his face looked as petrified as his arm. Dwarfs gathered around and tried various tools, their skilled hands wielding tiny chisels and hammers with the precision of master sculptors. Gifford's arm remained stubbornly encased in stone, each attempt to break the curse amounting to nothing more than a futile dance of sparks, sweat, and winces from Gifford. One of the dwarfs wielded a pickaxe and giant sledgehammer.
Let's try something bigger.
He suggested. Gifford's eyes widened.
No thanks. This doesn't seem to be working. Sorry, lad.
Redforge apologized. Genuine regret etched across his dirty streaked face.
This is magic, and it'll take more than physical skill to undo the effects. Thank you for trying.
Gifford said, disappointment flickering in his eyes.
I guess I'll have to get used to it.
Redforge's strong face resigned to sorrow.
We are sorry for your predicament, but we have already delayed our work long enough. We cannot stop. We can never stop.
The dwarf lamented firmly, and resumed his labor alongside his brethren. Lefwen, always one to see the bright side, beamed at the industrious dwarfs.
You're doing fantastic work here. Your dedication is truly inspiring.
Their brows furrowed beneath bushy eyebrows as they focused their hammers, pickaxes, and attention on the side of the mountain in which they were digging out. The dwarfs worked tirelessly, their copper faces streaked with sweat and dirt as they separated blue gems from red. Precious red jewels were carefully loaded into crates on wagons, while the blue ones met a harsher fate, pulverized into dust beneath the relentless blows of hammers and discarded into a nearby stream running down the mountain.
Destroying such beauty?
Herman murmured, a somber expression clouding his face as he sympathized with their plight.
They do not belong to us.
A dwarf said quickly without stopping his work.
They came from your mountain.
Lefwen chimed in.
We labour under the weight of the Warlock King.
One of the other stout dwarfs said, but Redford shot him a look that communicated that too much information was being shared.
I still don't understand. Why don't you just get your sword back from the goblins?
Gifford asked.
You're strong, and there are a lot of you.
Lefwen added.
We dwarfs never leave our mountain. Too much work to be done.
One of them answered. Redford straightened his work-weary back and addressed the would-be heroes.
We enjoyed the respite of your visit, but we cannot have any more interruptions. I'm afraid we must bid you farewell.
He said, his voice laden with resignation.
But heed this warning. Stay away from our neighbours, the Lycanthrians.
His gravelly voice carried the weight of genuine concern.
They live in the valley beyond our mountain, and it would be wise to keep your distance.
He lifted his pickaxe and rested it on his muscular shoulder. His gaze shifted from Herman back to the mountainside as an indication of his urgency to return to his work.
Thanks for the advice.
Herman said, touched by the dwarf's care for their well-being.
May the Lord watch over you and your people.
Safe travels, friends.
Redford said. He returned his gaze, offering a weary smile. He turned and directed his diligent clan back to their ceaseless task, chipping away at the mountainside in search of magical gems for the Warlock King. The descent from the dwarf's mountain began as a gentle slope, but soon grew steeper and more treacherous. Rocks skittered away underfoot, forcing the companions to cling to one another for balance. Glitterfleck, ever the nimble sprite, darted around them like a hummingbird, her wings aglow against the darkening sky. Herman could not help but marvel at their surroundings. The vast expanse of Memoria stretched out before them like a lush tapestry, embroidered with sparkling rivers and vibrant wild flowers that swayed in the gentle breeze like 1,000 tiny dancers.
Careful now.
Lefwen cautioned, steadying herself with her oak flute.
One wrong step and we might find ourselves tumbling down the mountainside.
At least we would be down.
Gifford quaked. Despite the cumbersome weight of his stone arm, he managed to lumber along. By late evening, as the last vestiges of daylight surrendered to the encroaching evening, the weary travellers reached the bottom of the mountain. There, nestled in the crook of the valley, lay a village of brightly coloured tents and a dozen short people. Happy laughter and music drifted on the gentle breeze.
Wow, this place looks delightful.
Lefwen exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with curiosity as she clucked her oak flute.
Remember what the dwarf said.
Herman cautioned. He stared at the jubilant scene with a mixture of awe and unease.
If these are the Lycanthians, we should be wary.
I have met the Lycanthians before. They have always been friendly to me. Sometimes I pass through their village in the mornings, but I always return to my own home by evening. Need to get my beauty sleep. You see?
Glitterfleck chimed in, her tiny form hovering in front of Herman's face.
Is your home far from here?
Herman probed. The tiny fairy simply stared at Herman, as if seeing him for the first time. She suddenly swooped closer to Herman, examining his grey eyes and brown hair with an intensity that left him feeling exposed.
You remind me of someone.
I do. Who?
Herman asked curiously. Glitterfleck simply shook her head and flew on, leaving him to ponder in silence. As they entered the valley, a group of Lycanthians greeted them with white smiles and open arms. The Lycanthians looked like adults, but were as short as children. Their ragged peasant clothes contrasted with beautiful braided gem necklaces that each of them wore.
Welcome, friends.
One petite young woman stepped forward with a warm smile. On the face fair and beautiful was a pale moon. Her hair cascaded down her back like a silver waterfall.
My name is Lunabella. Welcome to the Valley of Lycanthia.
She said, her voice a melody that filled the evening air.
We're delighted for your visit. You look tired and probably would like to have a bite. Please stay for supper.
Lunabella offered, her eyes twinkling with warmth.
We have plenty to share. and we'd love to hear your stories.
Herman hesitated, remembering the dwarf's warning about these seemingly friendly people. In a hushed tone, he whispered to Gifford and Lefwin.
Don't forget what Red Forge told us. We should be cautious.
Gifford rolled his eyes.
They seem lovely, brother. And look at all the delicious food they've prepared. We haven't eaten in so long.
Indeed, several long tables were laden with steaming hot dishes. Tantalizing aromas of spiced stew and freshly baked bread weaved in the air like a culinary tapestry, making it hard to resist her offer. Despite his reservations, Herman couldn't resist the inviting atmosphere. It felt strangely like home, as if the Lycanthean camp was a forgotten piece of a puzzle missing from his life. Reluctantly, he nodded and joined the others at the tables.
Thank you.
Herman graciously accepted the invitation while silently questioning their decision. He felt a knot of guilt tightening in his chest for doubting these kind-hearted strangers as they settled into the camp, sharing stories and laughter over steaming bowls of stew. Glitterflake flitted amongst the Lycanthians, her curiosity piqued. She alighted on Lunabella's shoulder and asked a question burning in her tiny heart.
Where is the tall one?
Glitterfleck, my tiny friend. It is a delight to see you again. We haven't had the pleasure of witnessing your luminescent beauty in our village after sundown. Such a delight.
Lunabella complimented, her jeweled necklace reflecting the light of the fairy.
The tall one? Where is he?
Glitterflake prodded insistently. Lunabella sighed, her eyes taking on a faraway look.
The man left our valley a few days ago. He is always drawn to the shores, yearning for something beyond the horizon. Worry not. If he should fail to return, the king will surely track him down and ensure his homecoming.
This news seemed to ignite a spark of urgency within Glitterflake, who suddenly darted off towards the shore without so much as a farewell. The trio exchanged puzzled glances, but Lunabella simply smiled, her gaze softening.
Glitterfleck.
Herman called after her, but she was already gone, leaving him to wonder what could have caused the sudden departure. As the trio watched her disappear into the twilight, Herman glanced at Gifford and Lefwin, their faces illuminated by the flickering glow of the campfire. Together, they had embarked on this incredible journey, guided by faith and friendship, but their small companion was leaving without an explanation.
Do not worry, dear friends.
Lunabella reassured, reaching up to place her delicate hand on Herman's shoulder.
I am certain she will be back.
Her words were comforting, yet restraining.
They always come back. Our village has a certain lure.
It certainly does.
Gifford said, with a mischievous grin. He wandered away from the campfire toward a cluster of vibrant flowers. His fingers twitched with anticipation as he spotted a strange species of bees buzzing around the blossoms. Carefully, he scooped about a dozen into his bug-collecting jar. Gifford marveled at their peculiar markings, which was an unusual shade of iridescent blue.
Lefwin, look!
He called out, eager to share his discovery.
These bees are unlike anything I've ever seen before.
Lefwin peered into the jar, her eyes reflecting the twinkling of the trapped insects.
They are quite enchanting.
She agreed.
Strange.
He mused.
Bees aren't usually active at night. They should be asleep.
Speaking of sleep, that sounds like a wonderful idea.
Lefwin remarked, stifling a yawn with the back of her hand. Herman nodded in agreement.
Rest is indeed most welcome after a long day.
Lunabella chimed in, a warm smile never faltering.
We've prepared a tent for you. Right this way.
Thank you.
Murmured Herman, feeling a slight unease despite the Lycanthians' generous hospitality.
The tent and cots are not much, but I do hope that they are adequate for you.
The small woman gestured behind her to the canvas-wrapped tent.
That is very kind of you. I'm sure they will do just fine.
Leffen smiled as she glanced down at the small woman.
I am accustomed to sleeping in tents. I'll feel right at home.
Her memory drifted to travels with her parents. Quiet somber replaced her usually optimistic freckled face. She shook away the emotion, let her eyes meet the Lycantheans and said,
Thank you. I think we will turn for the night.
With heavy fatigue, the trio entered the cozy tent, grateful for the comfortable beds that awaited them. As they settled down, the warm scent of earth mingled with the faint aroma of the Lycantheans' cooking fires. Though exhausted, Herman couldn't sleep. He decided to read his father's journal. His eyes scanned the beautifully penned words on the page. He discovered that his father had met the friendly Lycantheans and had vowed to return someday to the embrace of these enigmatic people. A bittersweet smile pulled at the corner of Herman's mouth. It felt as if he were fulfilling that vow on his father's behalf. Herman closed the book with a soft sigh and listened to Leffen's quiet breathing. One by one, the trio's eyelids grew heavier, and they all surrendered to the sweet embrace of slumber. In the dead of night, a guttural snarl shattered the stillness, tearing Herman and his friends from their peaceful reverie of dreams. They bolted upright, trembling. Herman reached for his father's journal, clutching it tightly as if it would protect them from whatever danger lurked beyond the canvas walls.
Well, what's happening?
Gifford stammered as they cautiously stepped out of the tent. To their horror, they found themselves surrounded by the Lycantheans, but not as they knew them. The once friendly Lycantheans' bodies contorted, their faces twisted into grotesque masks of rage. Tufts of bristly fur sprouted across their taut skin. The jeweled necklaces radiated a bright crimson glow. They were, in fact, becoming werewolves. The creatures stepped closer, saliva dripping from their fangs.
In all my born days,
Herman managed to say,
Stay back!
Leffen warned. She raised her oak flute defensively.
We mean you no harm, but we will defend ourselves if necessary.
Herman felt like a coward, not just about the werewolves, but for not having said all that he wanted to Leffen. Now, this moment could be their last.
Lord, deliver us from this nightmare.
He whispered, praying for strength and wisdom to face the monstrous threat.